and ALCS and the World Series as well. You might as well do it now that you've got that extra round and best of three. Want to hear from all of you about what you think of the playoff changes throughout sports, adding more teams like baseball, football, even basketball with the elimination tournament. I mean, that's definitely changed the way that teams are approaching the season, even those that are still kind of in rebuild mode, trying to prevent the tanking, more teams getting opportunities to make the playoffs there. And seeing Melissa in the comment section saying, "Go Braves." Gotta love that right there for all of you Braves fans out there. So we'll continue talking about baseball. We'll talk a little bit about basketball late in the show. I'll tell you about how you can get involved with Jock Market. But let's talk about bye weeks. Let's talk about how to handle your teams at this point when you're 1-4. It's a hard situation to handle. I get it. But that's not impossible for you to come back and win in your leagues. You have to be hitting the waiver wire. Some leagues have passed through waivers already. Others passing through tonight into tomorrow. Before we get to that amazing game that we've got on Thursday night, I'm tired of this with the Thursday schedule. And I get that we don't know how good or how bad teams are truly going to be. But Washington, Chicago, it doesn't move the needle for me. It doesn't put the butts in the seats for me. But with these two teams, it's very interesting to see the lack of production from Chicago overall, how much they're going to be able to throw against Washington. We've seen Washington give up some points. And then on the other side with Washington too, when you're thinking about how they're going to utilize some of their options, at least we know a couple of things about the Washington Commanders, and that Jahan Dotson and Logan Thomas will both be out for this Thursday night football game. Just takes another away from the tight end position. That's where we're at right now. I have David Njoku on a lot of my teams, and that's someone that we have to accept. Like I keep saying, you're in the market where you're trading right now. It's hard to really trade and value a tight end. It's really tough to value a Mark Andrews right now. Yes, you could think about it and say, okay, I'll trade Andrews, get myself a nice wide receiver two, an established wide receiver two, let's just say. Get myself a couple of backs. But then what happens? You're streaming the whole way and you're playing the big guessing game. And for some, like me in the past, streaming tight ends, streaming quarterbacks, it does work. You can get away with it. And eventually you find a team and you chase that team. Last year or the year before was the Eagles. 1 year it was the Cardinals. And you just keep chasing the team, and that's what you do. That's what we do for DFS. This year is too hard to do that. So you have to be careful all of a sudden when valuing a player like Travis Kelce. He's invaluable right now. And I know that some of you have keepers on the line. Hell, I received a keeper league trade today, which I thought was an excellent question to ask. I don't think questions are stupid. I ask a lot of questions. And for those that ask questions, even ones that take about 2 seconds to answer, no question is stupid. It's the big thing for me is when you send me a trade that you made on Twitter and say, hey, I already made this trade. What do you think? You want me to break your heart? I'm going to. I'm going to be honest. I'll try to be encouraging. I'll try to say, hey, here's how you can get out of the situation you just put yourself in. But you have to be careful when making trades as well for lateral moves in fantasy sports trades. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Making lateral moves. What's the point? If you're not filling a position of need to trade just to trade, you need to keep your foundation intact. You have to find out where your strengths are. When you're constantly moving pieces, you can't do that. You don't allow yourself to do that. And then you're wondering when you're chasing the week before and you're making these trades, no matter how big or small, it makes you wonder why you're not doing well when you're getting players who are hot, when you're getting players who are popular, but you're wheeling and dealing. You have to have that strong foundational piece. By the way, more baseball fans, I love this baseball in the comments section right there. Al Williams, a Better Al saying, go Dodgers. Love that from one of the bosses here at Better Sports Network. Go Dodgers. Hey, I'm fine with that here. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not heartbroken. I'm not like Ronis where I'm heartbroken even over the Mets not making it. I'm used to it. That's the bottom line. I'm used to it. You know when I'll show all that emotion? I'll show all that emotion when the Mets finally win a World Series in my lifetime. I've been to 2 Mets World Series wins, and those are the only 2 Mets World Series wins, and I'm talking games, not the actual series, but those are the only 2 that they've won since I've been alive 35 years. And I was actually at both Game 3s. I have the tickets right here. I'll show them to you in just a second. But overall, going back to it and talking about what we're doing when we're trading, you just have to be careful. The trade offer I received, Jonathan Taylor versus Alvin Kamara, who I like better when it comes to the rest of the season. I mean, naturally between the two, I know that Taylor's been a little bit banged up, as Kamara has as well. And both of them have had their up and down games thus far, but that's what we're dealing with so many players. I mean, Justin Jefferson, he didn't have a greatest start, but now all of a sudden the last few weeks, boom, back-to-back 30-point outings in PPR. So that's what's going to happen. That's the patience that you're going to have to stay with. And that's even when you're 1-4. I'm 1-4 in a league full of fantasy analysts, and I won the league last year. This year, I'll tell you, I'll read you my team and let you know what I'm dealing with. I've been dealing with what I did was Russell Wilson late. Drafting quarterbacks late, we've been talking about this on the playbook, has just been horrible for us. Those that waited on guys like Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Trey Lance, Dak Prescott, we're not benefiting by them at all. We're not. And that's the problem. Makes you want to spend a little bit more capital up there. And on this crap team that I have Russell Wilson and Courtland Sutton. What am I going to do there? It's making me rethink a little bit on my strategy. And I did it twice this year. And I don't necessarily interlock pieces. I don't go into a draft thinking I'm going to do that. But I thought it was a good idea. In one league, I have Evans and I have Brady. Sucks that Evans got suspended. The other league, in this league, that league, by the way, I'm over 500. This league that I'm 1-4 in, I've got Wilson and I've got Sutton, and it's not good right now. Other pieces that haven't really come through for me. Elijah Moore has not come through for me. Cam Akers has not come through for me. Robert Woods, when I was starting him, he wasn't coming through, and on the days that I didn't start him, he came through with double-digit production. I've got a suspended DeAndre Hopkins that I am frozen with right now. That's what I'm dealing with. I'm thrilled that I was able to actually get Alec Pierce for about $10, $12 because that's what I'm going for right now. All of you have teams like that, not all of you, but some of you have these kinds of situations where it's not the injuries and it's the underperformers. And you really can't do much. You can overhaul at this point. I've got Najee Harris on this team. How do I value him in trades? Roan, how do I value Najee Harris in a trade right now? You can't even sell this guy. No one wants him.
Yeah, you're really just not going to get the proper return if you're trying to trade him. I have him in one league, but there's no trades in that league. So the problem with him is you kind of run him out there every week because he's getting the volume. But we already heard Mike Tomlin say that Jaylen Warren is going to get more touches. And that is not good because one of the reasons why you valued Harris so highly was because of the volume. So, I don't know what you can get for him right now. That's the problem. Like, I'm sure if you go through a list of running backs, there's a lot of guys you would take. Like, you would take Dameon Pierce over him right now, right? If you could trade Harris for Pierce, you would do it in a heartbeat, right?
Yes. On this team, though, I happen to have both of them.
Okay, well, can't make a trade with yourself, unfortunately.
No, I wish I can, man.
But yeah, man, and it's crazy. The team I have Harris is 4-1. And I know the team's in trouble. And even this week, I have Michael Thomas. I don't know if he's going to play. I have Khalil Shakir, and Isaiah McKenzie was cleared from concussion protocol. So that doesn't look as appealing. So that team is in a little bit of trouble. So I have to start Harris because, like you, I have Dameon Pierce on that team. So he's on bye. So I kind of have to suck it up and start Harris this week. And it doesn't feel good. And, in a league where you can't trade, there's not much you can do about it right now, at least when it comes to Harris. But if you are going to try and deal him, you're just not going to get what you want for him. You're going to have to, and that's what you have to understand is, hey, I drafted this guy late first round, early second, but there's no way I'm going to get proper return. But sometimes it's better to get out now. I don't know. Do you think it could get better? I mean, I guess if Kenny Pickett plays well, I know the schedule's kind of tough, but maybe he could open things up. But the biggest problem I have is I don't know if he's going to check down to Harris.
Right. And I don't know as well how much he's going to run. I can't take what we saw a couple of weeks ago when he's vulturing 2 touchdowns there. But at the same time, it does make me curious if that's going to happen. And you can't predict how often that's going to happen. It's a play call. But if Kenny Pickett's able to sneak in to the end zone on the 1 or the 2 yard line, instead of Najee Harris doing the usual BS Najee Harris non-explosive moves, then why not try Kenny Pickett sneaking into the end zone?
Yeah. And the offense does have a lot of weapons there. The schedule is tough. There was no ideal time, I guess, to put Pickett in. I understand why they did it, but It's a tough stretch of the schedule to throw him in there his first start against the Bills on the road. You could understand why he struggled. But yeah, Harris is again, we talked about it. I'm backed out, as I started to do more research. Just didn't like the situation there with the offensive line and the quarterbacks coming in. And when you have a player that's not explosive, that's dependent on volume, once that volume starts to dissipate like you're seeing now, it's a problem.
Benjamin went for a lot of money in my leagues. I wanted to ask you how much he was going for. In the league that we're in, he went for $21. And I thought about putting a little bit of a bid on him, but I was really still thinking single digits. Do you think it's a product of there just really not being many other options to bid on when it comes to the running back position? Because you got Connor that's day to day, Williams is hurt. So Benjamin could get involved, but a $21 bid. I mean, in my league, in my other league, where it's $100 that we have for bidding, someone else bid 35 for him.
Yeah, I think running back is thin, 4 teams on buys, the injuries. So, and Connor has been banged up multiple times already this year. We don't know if he's officially out. My guess is he will be, but yeah, I think when people have money and they see a running back that potentially could be the lead back for a week or two, and especially this week against Seattle, I think people are going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, other news, by the way, that we have not yet discussed here, from everything we're reading, it seems like Cooper Rush against the Eagles. Dude, I'm so excited for that game. For these other primetime games that we've had to sit through, this one that we're going to have to sit through tomorrow night that I was just discussing, which I'm really just not looking forward to. I hate to say it, but the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to in this game tomorrow night between the Bears and the Commanders, Brian Robinson, and seeing what he could do with whatever carries he gets. That's really the one thing I'm locked in on. And at least we know right now, no Logan Thomas. And I was just discussing that takes the tight end pool, makes it even more shallow because he's not going to be in this game. And also no Jahan Dotson once again.
Yeah, tight end is really bad this week. I mean, it's bad every week, but, Logan Thomas was maybe a potential option as 2 weeks in a row he's going to miss. I think the under will be a popular play in that game. Hopefully it's a little bit better than what we saw last Thursday. And then, yeah, Philadelphia, Dallas should be exciting Sunday night. I mean, I think it's not the same with Cooper Rush starting, but that Cowboys defense has been ridiculous. And Micah Parsons dealing with a groin issue said he's definitely going to play. Even with that limited snaps last week, still had 2 sacks. So it's a big test here because we did see Philadelphia really not do much in the second half last week against Arizona. They didn't put up a lot of points, and I felt that was going to be a close game. I liked Arizona getting to 5. They did cover. But, yeah, it should be an interesting game. I mean, it would be obviously a lot better if Dak Prescott was playing, but we'll see. I think everyone believes Philadelphia is one of the best teams in the NFL. And, look, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm stunned. I kind of felt like they were done after week 1, and I was basically having a funeral, and they've surprised me. I knew the defense was good, but I didn't expect it to be to this level. I thought last year where they got all those turnovers, that's a number that usually doesn't repeat. It was so lopsided in their favor, but with Parsons and Lawrence and a lot of the defensive linemen, they're rotating in and out, just creating a lot of pressure because Cooper Rush hasn't done much. He really hasn't. They've limited him. He's controlled the offense. It's really the defense that's carrying them. And this will be a big test here against Philadelphia.
We're being asked in the comment section about, speaking of the tight end position, how aggressive Burn Baby Burn asking us, how aggressive should someone bid for Kate Otten this week? And that's where we're at right now with Kate Otten.
Yeah, I did see Cameron Brate was back today. I don't know if he was limited or something, but I wouldn't be very aggressive. I mean, if he starts this week, sure. He did have a decent game last week, and I think he's talented. The one thing is we do see them throw a lot, but I don't think I would be very aggressive, even if you need a tight end badly. And look, I have a couple of teams as well. I did lose out on Taysom Hill in the league we're in together. Tried to get him. They got lost by a few bucks.
How much did he end up going for? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I think 11. I think my bid was 8, something like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't think I'd bid aggressively on Otten, depending on what your situation is, because there's a chance he doesn't play much this week if Brate is back.
Yeah, I'm looking to see who could be out there still that you can trust. It's a joke, man. I'm looking at this list. You can't trust anyone with full confidence. Everyone I'll go down the list after. You can't even get Njoku. You're not getting him anymore anywhere. He's picked up all over the place.
He's long gone. Yeah. And man, I messed up, dropped him, and then you picked him up.
I picked him up.
I should have just stuck with him, man. But it was tough after seeing the first, 2 weeks. I was like, and I got Everett, and he was good. But, I don't know if this can continue for Everett once Keenan Allen comes back. That's my concern. And also, we also saw the Donald Parham come back and cut into him a little bit. So that was a little concerning. So there's just not a lot of tight ends you feel good about right now.
Irv Smith. I thought I'd be a little bit more excited about Irv Smith. I'm not excited about him.
I'm not either. It's going to be hit or miss. There'll be some weeks where he's good and other weeks will be quiet, just like most of these other tight ends.
Right. And you said it a few weeks ago. People were going nuts on Conklin. We even had Andrew Cooper, you hear on Front Yard Fantasy, be like, guys, relax with Tyler Conklin. And over the last few weeks, we're seeing about just what happens when you have other weapons back in. We're seeing just how much it's hit him up. And you're right. You were asking me the other day about Taysom Hill, and you started to ask Taysom Hill versus whoever. Looking at what we're dealing with, again, no Logan Thomas. I don't know where we stand on Pat Freiermuth at this point. So he's likely going to be out. I
put him in the rankings, but again, third concussion in 2 years. My guess is he doesn't play. You got Dalton Schultz with the PCL injuries too. Even if he plays, you can't feel confident starting him. So I know people like, oh, but Taysom Hill doesn't do anything. The bottom line is Taysom Hill is the same as everybody else, right? But there's more of a chance that he scores a rushing touchdown. You saw it last week, and he's had 2 good weeks. Yeah, he's going to have a week where he might get you 3 points, but all these other tight ends will too.
Right, absolutely. Where do you have Kyle Pitts ranked right now?
I actually did not put him in. I will have to because it sounds like he's going to play, so I will put him in. He'll probably be 7, was my guess.
Yeah. For a second, I thought I was looking at the schedule wrong. I was like, if you saw me make a weird reaction, because I was like, wait, Tampa, you just played Tampa. San Fran, though, that's going to be a tough matchup for him. If he plays that's going to be rough for him. Whereas,
yeah, but I think if you have him, you're playing him unless, I don't know who you picked up last week to replace him. So, if you have Njoku in him, I'd probably go with Njoku right now until he does something. But I think in most instances with Pitts, you're going to play him and you just hope that he gets more involved in the offense.
The tight end, who are you chasing? How have you handled the tight end position at this point? Let us know in the comments section and smash that fun button. We're going to have a lot of fun. As yesterday, we covered the NFC when it came down to, can we start 3 players from an NFL team with full confidence? 7 of 16 from the NFC. 7 of 16 that we said, yes, we can start 3 players. We're going to the AFC today, and we're going to see if we can bump that number up. And if we can't, that just says a lot about where we're at right now in this dead zone of a fantasy football season. We'll continue to keep you up to date regarding the game in Atlanta right now. Again, it's supposed to, for those just tuning in, the rain delays in Atlanta now are forcing the game. At this point, the prognostication is that it should start around that 7:30 to 7:50 p.m. Eastern area. We'll let you know if we get any other updates on that. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman. This is the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network, powered by FantasyAlarm.com, sponsored also by Jock Market.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market. Corey, Nando, and friends. Presented by Mayo Media on Bettor Sports Network.
Offense is down this year, Nando.
Yeah, it is.
Offense is down this year. Definitely. Offense has been problematic this year. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that struggle offensively. Let me look it up right now. Geno Smith right now is QB6 on the season.
I can buy that.
I can buy that too. Listen to the top 12 right now, Nando.
Yeah.
This is going to blow your mind. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, QB4, Kyler Murray. QB5, Joe Burrow. Even with that being the top 5, okay, cool. I get it. Now here's where things get weird. QB6, Geno Smith. QB7, Carson Wentz. QB8, Jared Goff. Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff on QB6, 7, and 8. That's crazy. Those are undrafted dudes Wentz throwing for a lot of yards. The Commanders can move the football, Nando.
Yeah.
The problem is they shoot themselves in the foot with penalties.
Right.
And that turnover is coming at some point. That Wentz interception, that Wentz fumble, you're going to get it at some point. Yesterday, they got it at the worst possible time. They're driving down, try to win the game. Bam, there goes the turnover. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But outside of that, his yardage, he might have threw for 375 yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
QB 9, Herbert. QB 10, Mahomes. Mahomes and Herbert, two of the first quarterbacks going off the board this year in drafts are QB 9 and 10. QB 11, Kirk Cousins. QB 12, Tom Brady. 13 is Daniel Jones.
He's running.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is athletic. He is athletic. That was one thing that Jones does have with this game.
He's running through injury.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to hold on to his job.
I'm saying give him credit, man. Good for him.
This offense has not been great, been bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Offense has not been great this season. QB 32, Mac Jones. He's a starter. Winston has missed time. Dak Prescott has missed time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that could be no Trey Lance, right? Justin Fields is a starter. You didn't expect much from him. Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, he stinks. That's a starter. Matthew Stafford, a starter who stinks. Matt Ryan, a starter who stinks. Ryan Tannehill, a starter who stinks. Aaron Rodgers is QB 18. The reason why offense stinks is because quarterback play has declined.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
It's time for the Playbook Stock Watch. Whose stock is up?
Zappy's back. Zappy looks, throws, man wide open, touchdown. Jacob Myers wide open down the right sideline in between two Lion defenders.
And whose stock is down?
Stafford stands up, throws the fade. A-Rob for the touchdown. Lost A.J. Terrell in coverage. Touchdown, A-Rob.
Bettor Sports Network is sponsored by Jock Market.
Justin Fensterman, Adam Rona's back with you here on the Playbook. Coming up soon, Ryan Hallam from FantasyAlarm.com writes the wide receiver cornerback weekly matchup report. It's on the site right now. Very, very detailed. We'll talk with Ryan about some of the players on your fantasy teams heading into their week 6 matchup. But want to remind you all that, of course, as you know, from the last couple of weeks, from all the promotion, Lisa Ann, now part of Bettor Sports Network, she'll be on tonight, right after us, with Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Will be awesome. And they're giving away another cool prize tonight. Talked about this. I couldn't boast enough about this because I want this. And there's no joke. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I want this jersey. I want the Giannis Antetokounmpo autographed jersey. It's green. It's Bucks jersey. It's autographed by freaking Giannis. Who wouldn't want that? And to be eligible, all you have to do is download the Bettor Sports Network app, register for free, be listening live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific for your chance to win this coveted autographed jersey. And another giveaway going tomorrow, not on our show once again. Hey, Ron, what is this? Why can't we give some of these jerseys away? What is this?
Because they're giving us an opportunity to get it on those shows. Just have your friend or someone call in and get it for you.
Absolutely. I want to do that tonight. I want to so do that tonight. But here's the problem, Roan. I can't display it anywhere because
you can. No one will know.
No, so all of a sudden you see right here a green Giannis jersey displayed, same green that's been plastered all over Bettor Sports Network.
Or don't put it on screen.
I know.
For a couple of months. Wait a couple months and be like, oh yeah, no one will remember.
You've done this before. You've done this.
No,
have you ever won a radio con? You did win.
Yeah, I did. Bulls Knicks tickets off the
right?
fan. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For 96 because I remember. I think it was 96. I think it was game 4 or 5. I think it was the game that Starks went crazy.
Was it the game where Patrick Ewing threw down that thunderous dunk?
I was sitting really high, but I did win the tickets. I know that.
That's awesome.
So I got to see Jordan in person.
Dang, I'm trying to think if
I never got to see my guy Kobe though.
No, I've seen Kobe in person. That's It's art with Kobe.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
That's one I wish.
Yeah. Did you see the new Jeremy Lin documentary, by the way, that came out?
Not
on
yet.
HBO?
No.
Yeah. It's fine. I thought that they would show more. It's funny, the way they focused it, I thought they would show more because Jeremy Lin in 2012 had that stretch of, what was it, 10 games or so, where he was just amazing, dropping 38 on the Lakers. I was actually at game 3 of Linsanity down in Washington, D.C. And let me tell you, Ron, when in that stadium, there were no Wizards fans that night. It was a bunch of Jeremy. This is game 3 of Linsanity.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of Jeremy Lin jerseys in there. Verizon Center, now Capital One Arena in D.C. Just incredible. But then what happened was with him, if you remember, he hurt his knee. He was apparently 85% healthy. That was the big thing. And the Knicks wouldn't play him in the playoff series against Miami because they didn't think he was fully healthy. Then they thought they can re-sign him on the cheap. He and his representatives said, okay, verbal commitment. And then behind their back, they go to Houston, land him about $30 million. And that was that when it came to Jeremy Lin. But ended up winning a title, playing about 30 seconds in the 2019 finals with the Raptors. So it's funny, after all that, Jeremy Lin gets a ring.
Good for him, man.
Absolutely. You've won some rings in the fantasy sports industry. But tomorrow, so tonight you got the Giannis jersey autograph giveaway, which is going to be awesome. And another giveaway coming at 11 Eastern tomorrow on Moose and Keith. Joe Theismann signed 1983 NFL MVP inscription speed full-size helmet that you get, a Joe Theismann autograph helmet, courtesy of GetInTheGame.com and Bettor Sports Network. No purchase necessary, must be 18 or over. Winners within the last 90 days are not eligible. Sorry, Ronus. I know you secretly won one of those contests, so it'll be up to me for the show to be able to win either the Giannis jersey or the Joe Theismann hat. Also, by the way, want to tell you about Jock Market. I keep mentioning it. This show also, Corey Nando and friends before us, sponsored by Jock Market. For those that love the stock market, it's a very interesting way on how to include essentially, I want to say fantasy, but sports and statistics when it comes to investing into players. We say it all the time that we have shares of players. Well, you legitimately buy shares when you download the Jock Market app. And when you buy shares of a player, like for instance, I'm seeing in the most recent one, Cooper Kupp, he's about $10.44 right now. If you wanted to buy a share, you buy a share of a player and there's an IPO time frame that you buy the shares on the players on Sunday. You buy them at the IPO. Let's say you wanted 8 shares of Cooper Kupp and you want to try to invest in the players, find the best values because players are at different dollar values. But what happens is those IPO values actually change. So where you're thinking you're getting in on maybe the ground floor and I'm buying shares of Cooper Kupp, legit shares of Cooper Kupp that can end up paying about $25 a share back in return. If Cooper Kupp is the top fantasy scorer, then it's great. However, during this whole IPO time frame before noon Eastern on Sunday, because that's when it's over, you can actually get bought out of your shares. Someone can raise the price of the shares, buy your shares out, and then you have to reinvest if you want the player. So it's legitimately the stock market. And then there's even trading involved. Ronus, I don't know if back when maybe you were in grade school, they had something in a business class about you just pretending to play the stock market, keeping track of the money. But this kind of reminds me of that because instead of fantasy shares, you're actually buying stock market shares against other users on the Jock Market app.
Yeah, definitely interesting and something that, you need to be sharp about and trying to find that value. But that other people are probably going to see the same thing you are. The price is going to go up, so that's the key here is, getting it at the right price. And you're trying to it's hard to sneak someone in nowadays. Everyone is pretty sharp.
Right. So let's take Justin Jefferson, for instance. Like you want to try to, this isn't trying to be you're not building a GPP lineup here. You're investing in the player. There's no lineups here. And that is going for or against your overall budget that you put in there. So someone like Justin Jefferson at 771, saw a little bit earlier on the Jock Market app. He's coming off of 2 monster performances. Going up against the Dolphins here, this could be another big matchup. that price, 771, I don't think is going to stay that way. So you could buy the shares. You could buy 5 or 6 shares at $7.71. But then you better be ready to get a notification that someone just upped the value on Justin Jefferson, and you have to decide whether or not you're reinvesting. So unlike when you buy stock in real life, you're thinking, okay, that's it. Now I'm just going to watch the price. In here, your shares can essentially get outbid and taken away from you. So it's almost a full-time commitment, but the market never closes here, or at least in the IPO realm, until noon Eastern on Sundays. And then that's where the buying and the selling come into play when you try to make your final investment. So that is Jock Market. Download the Jock Market app to get involved. You love the stock market. I mean, who does at this point with how much it's been down in recent months? But you love playing the stock market. You love sports and football. Boom. This is how you do it. Every week on fantasyalarm.com, Ron, I record a video that I'm sure breaks a lot of computer screens because of my ugly mug. And with that, 3 players trending up, 3 players trending down. I try to keep the players trending for what's being searched the most as well. So sometimes there is a chalk option who's obviously going up. I try not to put players on there who are injury replacement. For instance, Ken Walker. Yeah, I could have put Ken Walker, made life easy for myself. Everyone's wondering, ooh, Ken Walker. Not like he's really out there on waivers. But what's that doing for you? What's that teaching you? The one time I did that injury replacement style was with Jamal Williams, but that was because when Swift was in, he was already getting double-digit carries. So this was someone, and I continued to say it, where if you're putting a big-time claim on him, or if you're putting a big investment into him, this is someone who seems to have a featured role even when Swift is healthy. So that's why I put him in there, because it looked like he already had the role, and it wasn't him just all of a sudden getting carries handed to him because of an injury like the Rashad Penny situation. So at this point, Ron, when it comes to who to invest in and who not to invest in, the person that features, and this is someone that I'm excited to see on Jock Market, how much his price goes up, Geno Smith, man. Can you believe it? I never thought that any of my stock watches on fantasyalarm.com would lead off positively with Geno Smith.
Yeah, I can't believe he's a guy that might be saving my season in one of my fantasy leagues. I started him last week. We'll start him again this week. He's actually still out there in a league that I'm playing in where I have quarterback issues, and I'm ready to go with a large price. And I know there's probably some people who are like, well, this can't continue, but he's playing very well. And we see once in a while these quarterbacks, maybe he's figured it out. Maybe he's in the right system. He's got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And look, maybe it does fall apart, but it looks like a pretty good matchup again this week. Cardinals defense hasn't been good. They don't force many turnovers, and Geno Smith's Achilles heel in the past has been turnovers, and we haven't seen it so far. So I know some people are still not buying in, but he's been getting it done at this point. And look at the lack of good quarterback play in fantasy circles. So I'll continue to ride it out, and hopefully he gets me to a place where I need until Dak Prescott comes back on that team.
Wow, Dak Prescott's coming back. Let's
see Dak. I don't know when, but
yeah, let's all come. I did raise the question though, whether or not they would try to slow play him. And I know like you and even Grande were snickering at me, but the thing is, has Cooper Rush, and you talked about this a little bit earlier, has he himself have done enough to slow play Dak? Nah, that defense is carrying.
See, people are looking at it because he's won games. He hasn't done anything, man. He had no touchdown passes last week. He was 10 of 16 against Washington, 15 of 27 for 223 and 2 touchdowns. The Giants game, 215 passing yards, 1 touchdown. So he hasn't done anything that has led them to victory. It's been the defense. Look at the points the defense has allowed in his 4 starts: 17, 16, 10, and 10. What happened the first play last week? Turn it over, defensive touchdown. There's no pressure on Cooper Rush at that point. There's going to be pressure on Rush this week. I would think maybe the Eagles potentially take the lead. What is going to happen when he's playing from behind? He really hasn't had to do that much in his 4 starts, and they've been very conservative with him, which is smart. They are doing – I can't believe it, but Mike McCarthy's done a good job so far. We'll see if it continues, but Cooper Rush is not leading this team to victory.
No.
He hasn't done it.
No, he hasn't. Yes, I'll say this though, man. Betting with this Cowboys team has been fun, man. It has been
They
fun.
were great last year too against the spread too.
Yeah, it is fun with this Cowboys team. Once I saw the game against the Bengals, and you were on that. I was on the Bengals. Their Bengals were favored by 6, I believe, when all was said and done. 7.
Mm-hmm.
You were completely on the Cowboys, and I was like, I don't know, man. You were dead set, not unbiasedly, because we're talking about betting. We don't bet with our fandom or hearts. You were on the Cowboys the entire time, and then I ended up coming through. Right after that, I said, I'm convinced they held down the defending AFC champs. I'm convinced that they are going to be able to hold down other teams as well. This Sunday night is going to be a big test, and I'm going to have to drink some coffee, like 2 cups of coffee late in the afternoon to make sure I don't miss a second of that game, because sometimes get a little faded by the time that Sunday night game comes around. But with some of the Sunday night games we've had lately, what are we really missing anyway? Geno Smith, by the way, on Jock Market, he's in that $8, $8.15 range, which is a little bit higher than I originally thought, but good matchup for him coming up. So let's say you buy the shares at $8.15 per share. All of a sudden, Ronas is like, well, I love Geno Smith. I'm going to invest more. He ups how much he would be putting in for the 7 shares. Your shares get taken away. You have to reinvest. That's what you're looking at when it comes to dealing with Jock Market. He's Adam Ronas. I'm Justin Fensterman. Let's talk wide receiver, cornerback matchups for Week 6 with our buddy Ryan Hallam from FantasyAlarm.com. It is the playbook here on Bettor Sports Network, powered by FantasyAlarm.com. Back with you. Let's talk about how we're going to win and crush it with our wide receivers for Week 6.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronas is sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every hour, every minute, every second of every game.
What up, Pat?
You guys doing Jock Market now? Jock Market's fun.
Tell us a little bit about Jock Market. I mean, it seems like it's only in game, right? You can't do anything like right now. You got to wait until games start, right?
We have to wait for the IPOs to come out. Once the
Right.
IPOs are dropped, you don't have to trade in game. Once the prices are dropped, let's say for the weekend slate or even for the Thursday night slate, they might be out right now. I haven't checked. You can kind of get in on a price.
So that's basically the key to it is beating the market, trying to hop in there as soon as the IPO opens. Are you building a lineup or are you buying shares of a particular player or players?
Players, just build a portfolio. It's just like playing the stock market. I can just go buy Pepsi Cola stock all I want. That can be the only stock that I buy. Maybe better to diversify in case that you're wrong on some of these things. So yeah, you can play as much or as little as you want.
Okay. So I think the part that it's a little bit confusing to me is like when the IPOs open and when to go in and buy and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can go in at any time to go buy because let's say we don't know if Michael Thomas is playing this week, for example. So like no one's going to buy Michael Thomas shares. So when the IPO drops, if he's still sort of questionable or we don't know if he's going to play, no one's going to buy those. His stock is going to go down before the game starts. So if you're like, I actually kind of like Michael Thomas if he plays, well, you just wait until like Sunday morning right before kickoff and just buy all the Michael Thomas shares if he's active. And then you get him for like 50 cents instead of like $2, which he probably is at opening.
So we're not buying like per season. We're buying per game.
Per game. And they have a month-long contest as well where you can do that to see like how it does over the course of the next month. But for every slate, so Monday night, Thursday night, London games, main slate, late slate, Sunday night football, there are brand new markets that you can get into. So if you miss one, no big deal. You can get it on the next one.
Love it.
I'm ready for it now. Basketball season is going to be lit.
Pat Mayo.
Are you ready? Lisa Ann is hosting her own sports talk show on BSN. Listen to Bettor Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, exclusively on Bettor Sports Network. Or listen whenever you want on the app with BSN on demand. This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronas, presented by FantasyAlarm.com and sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every second of the game.
We've had a lot of firsts being that we're about this show, the playbook being a month old, but I feel like this was the first time that one of our guests here actually danced his way into the show. You saw a little shoulder shimmy right there from Ryan Hallam from FantasyAlarm.com. We've talked with Ryan previously. Ryan actually writes the wide receiver cornerback matchup report on the site. Just so many wide receivers, so much analysis right there. You could give him a follow on Twitter at Fighting Chance. What's going on, Ryan? Welcome back.
Not too much. I can't believe it's week 6 already. I can't believe I have a Fantasy Alarm hat and a Fantasy Alarm shirt on. So I'm not going to change my shirt, but I at least change my hat, so I'm not a complete homer. I mean, we both have the same shirt on, for God's sake. Something has to change. So here we go.
Dude,
I'm ready.
But it's different colors, man. It's different colors,
That's
though.
true.
So it looks like a different shirt here, right? I feel like I just
feel
feel like this. I'm like, hey, Ryan, look. And I feel like I'm about to flash you or something right there, Ryan. Don't get too excited, okay, Hallam? Seriously. Can we get excited, though, when we're talking about wide receivers? Jamar Chase, subpar fantasy season thus far. This is not a question of whether or not we're keeping him in our lineups, because we are, but should we maybe start to lower our expectations for his matchup this week? Although I saw that Mr. Marshawn Lattimore is a little bit banged up.
Yeah, I know he didn't practice today, which is not a great sign, along with Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave and, the entire Saints team. So here, I don't want to say my expectations are lowered a little bit, but my concern is, and it's creeping in a little bit, that he's had a few bad games, and a lot of his production last year was on these big, huge plays that were 10-yard catches that he took for 70-yard touchdowns. So the fact that he's not really doing that this year, okay, that is a little bit of a concern. He's really a great receiver. He's one of the top 5 probably in the league. So, he's a guy who's really capable of beating any corner. So this isn't a game against the Titans or the Commanders or a really great matchup. But, I'm not going into it expecting him to disappoint.
So while we mentioned the Saints here. So while we're on the Saints here, maybe not a wide receiver, but just about everything else, it seems like, at least from his position eligibility. Are you a Taysom Hill guy? Because he's actually healthy on the Saints.
I am not, vehemently not, a Taysom Hill guy, and you know this, and you planted this question on me. I know you did, but that's okay. I still love you anyway. But he's a gadget, not even a good gadget player. I mean, I get right now everyone is hurt and there aren't that many options. I still think Michael Thomas is going to play. Shefty had said yesterday, the day before, that he was expected to play. I won't be surprised if Chris Olave plays. You don't see a lot of guys go down face first and have a concussion. It's usually hitting the back of the head. So I kind of feel like he's going to be okay. We'll see about Jarvis Landry. I mean, Hill had 13 touches in the entire season before last week's 9 for 111 and the touchdown throw. So I get the position hasn't been good. I get that Waller and Hawkinson are on bye this week. But I think he's just as likely to get you 2 or 3 points as he is likely to get you 10 or more.
Yeah, you're right. And besides those guys being on bye, Ryan, you've got other injury situations. Like, for instance, we don't have Logan Thomas this week for the third, if we wanted to go that direction for the Thursday game. Pat Freiermuth, few concussions there, so we don't know if we have him. And just taking another tight end or 2 away, it just brings upon that appeal for Taysom Hill. But I don't want to get deceived here. And everybody has to know, Ryan, that going in, you know that you can end up with the 2-point performance from the guy as opposed to the 25 to 30. And that's the big disclaimer and warning that even fantasy investors are going to have to know going into him week after week.
Yeah, I saw some tweets today asking about Taysom Hill, and they were like, well, I'm getting the same 3 points from Kyle Pitts. If you say Kyle Pitts for Taysom Hill, I will come to your house and slap you across the face. I mean, let's just be realistic. If you have Pat Freiermuth and you have Darren Waller, or you have 2 other guys that are hurt or something like that, okay. If you're picking them up, it probably didn't cost you that much. Although I saw some things that people spent top dollar on them. If you're in a rough situation this week, fine, I understand. But if you're deciding to play Waller or Goddard or Ertz or someone like that over him, you really got to stop drinking either the Kool-Aid or whatever hard liquor that you are enjoying, because it's not happening like that.
Or Kool-Aid with hard liquor.
That would be good too. I like that.
I've never tried that Kool-Aid with hard liquor. I'm trying to think what liquor would be best with Kool-Aid. I feel like it'd have to be like a
vodka.
Light liquor. Vodka?
Yeah. One time I made a 4th of July party and I made what I called America juice. It was basically like Hawaiian punch, some ginger ale, and an entire bottle of vodka. And then threw some blueberries in there so it would be red and blue, and I threw it up all over the wall. But it was good.
That sounds like an awesome drink. Maybe not to have 10 of them, Ryan, but
that is the problem. It was hot. I sat in front of the grill all day. I drank it all day. Yeah, it was a bad job by me, not the American.
You know what happens, man? You know what happens? It's that you think if you stay with the same liquor, then you're good. You're really in the clear, but you're still drinking more liquor. You're still putting more alcohol in your system. What do you mean? I don't know why I'm hungover. I didn't mix. Well, yeah, you're still drinking 10 to 12 drinks like it's going out of style. You know, I'm
Happens
not
to the
saying
best
you,
of
Ryan.
us.
I know it does happen. It happens to the best of us. Ryan Hallam's hanging out with me. By the way, you can hear Ryan Hallam along with Matt Sells, who's been on this program on the playbook. You can hear us all on fantasyalarm.com, the Family Times podcast. Every week we go around, we shoot the breeze about everything regarding sports, things that we don't like in sports right now, especially. And pretty much it just turns into Sells making takes, Ryan, and then you and I kind of looking at each other like, what's going on with this guy?
Feel bad sometimes. I do feel like we team up on poor Selzy, but we love him, so it's okay.
It's his fault, not ours. You know,
Yeah, he does often like play devil's advocate on purpose.
He does. And it's like you and I are looking at each other. It's like, okay, let's go. Canadian doubles, me and Ryan versus Matt Sills, the Family Times podcast, again on fantasyalarm.com. The Dolphins, Ryan, they're a bit banged up here. You have Jalen Waddle matching up against Patrick Peterson here. What are your expectations for Waddle in this matchup, even if Hill sits? And from the reports that we got thus far as of now, there's optimism that Hill's going to play. But what do you think of Waddle's matchup overall?
Yeah, I feel like Hill will probably be in. It's going to be tough. You know, they've already said Skylar Thompson is going to start. You know, Bridgewater might be active, but even if he is, he's not going to start. I would only go in an emergency. He averaged 5 yards per attempt last week against the Jets, not 5 yards per completion, 5 yards per attempt. So we're not getting any big plays here from the Dolphins this week. And Waddle is, you know, he showed that he was the ultimate possession receiver last year. So that doesn't necessarily kill him. Vikings defense, the secondary isn't great. You know, they're allowing 250 yards per game through the air, but only 4 touchdowns in 5 weeks through the air. So they're pretty decent. I think Hill actually probably helps them because it just gives the defense something else to look at. But I think we're going to get a lot of Raheem Mostert this week. I think the Dolphins are going to keep the ball on the ground. Vikings aren't great against the run. So Waddle will startable. But if he topped like 50, 60 yards, I'd be surprised.
Mike Williams, and for a lot, because of course the cool thing to do, Ryan, in football this year is putting the Denver Broncos in prime time. So here we go again here. And yeah, it's a joke, but let's talk about how matchups for week 6 are going to be hanging in the balance with those that are going to be starting someone like a Mike Williams. We don't know where we stand with Keenan Allen at this point when it comes to his health, but should we be lowering the expectations for Mike Williams for Monday night if we're thinking, hey, we needed a PPR 14 to 16 points? Is this a matchup where it's going to be very hard to sniff that?
It might be. I mean, the Broncos lost Ronald Darby last week as one of their best corners for the season. So, you know, Patrick Surtain's going to end up probably being on Williams an awful lot. Denver's defense has been strong. I mean, they've had to be because their offense is just terrible, but they're only allowing 176 yards per game through the air, 3 passing touchdowns in 5 weeks. So, I mean, they've been very stingy, but they've also haven't played the best teams. I think Allen's a long shot to play. I don't expect him to be out there again this week. I don't be surprised if he misses another week after this. But I think, you know, Williams has been great 3 weeks out of 5 and terrible the other 2. So he is the kind of guy who is really boomer bust. Surtain's he can be a shutdown corner. I mean, he's only allowing 7.5 yards a catch. So there's no one on your team that's a better shot than Williams, I'm sure, but it might be, if you're looking for 14 to 16, it might be a little tough.
Yeah, again, that's why we're warning you now, because I know that on Monday, some of you are going to be like, oh my God, I need 25 from Williams. Tell us, Betsy and Rodas, tell us. And we're going to say, nah, brah, not a great matchup there. Although, Ryan, we could be wrong about that because I didn't think that Josh Jacobs would rush for at least 62 yards against the Chiefs. And he ended up destroying them, and they were so staunch on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, if the NFL was easy to figure out, we'd all be millionaires, and we wouldn't be doing this, right? We'd be just collecting
There's got to be some kind of sports almanac somewhere, Ryan, where we can find some predictions so we can be millionaires there. We might just have to do it the hard way instead. Gabe Davis against the Chiefs. We know that Isaiah McKenzie's cleared concussion protocol. It's been kind of an up and down year for him. I know the season's young, but what are your thoughts about Gabe Davis coming off the tremendous game that he had? We know that when it comes to the prioritization for the wide receivers, it's Stephon Diggs. McKenzie now back in the mix now. What are your thoughts of Davis's matchup against Kansas City?
I mean, you want exposure to this game, right? This is going to be the highest total on the board. Both two teams are probably the best 2 passing offenses right now. And we saw Davis last week, and we saw Davis last year in the playoffs, so what he could do against the Chiefs. I know it's last year, But Chiefs, outside of losing Travarius Ward, their defense is fairly similar. So he doesn't need a lot of volume to have a big game. Obviously, had 3 catches last week, and what he had, he blew up completely. So, I think anyone on the Bills side you want in this game. The Chiefs are a little. I expect them to also, pass and be very successful, but you don't know who it's going to be. Last week they spread it around pretty good. No one outside. Well, even Kelsey didn't have a lot of yards. He just had 4 touchdowns, which obviously
crazy. 25 yards, but 4 touchdowns for this guy.
Yeah, so I like the Bills receivers better than the Chiefs receivers, just because I feel like who's going to get it. There's going to be enough for all 3 of them, I think, to do well. So Davis, I think, while yes he can bust, I do expect a pretty big game from him.
Let's now talk about one of the most frustrating players to have in fantasy football this year, and that's DJ Moore. PJ Walker looking like he's going to be starting. I love the face that you just gave. That's the face of every investor in DJ Moore, pretty much the Panthers at this point. Is he even start? I mean, I know it's bye week, so maybe because it's bye weeks he is, but is he to you anything more than just a flex option at this point with Walker likely throwing him the ball?
It's tough. They play in the Rams, who outside of Jalen Ramsey, their secondary has not been that good, and Jalen Ramsey isn't like a shadow corner, so I don't see him blanketing Moore all day. Walker's replacing a guy who's, let's face it, not good, or not very good. Baker Mayfield is going to throw the ball 4 yards down the field. Walker, came out of the XFL. He's got some moxie. He's going to throw the ball. He started a few games for the Chiefs last year, and he's going to make some mistakes. He's going to get picked off for sure, especially a backup guy. He's trying to make a name for himself. He's going to come in. He's going to try to throw the ball. How much Aaron Donald is going to be in his face, I think, is going to be a big part of it. Because I think if the Rams can get pressure, obviously that's going to make him, get happy feet and probably make some wrong decisions. But I think because of bye weeks, because of injuries that we've had, I think it's really tough not to start Moore with his talent and potential. I'm not expecting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I have a hard time believing you have 3 guys on your team that are probably better than him.
Let's go from one Moore to another Moore, and that's Rondale Moore, because I'm loving the matchup that the Cardinals pass catchers have against Seattle. I mean, with Rondale Moore, this is someone, Ryan, who was picked up in a lot of leagues. And for Rondale Moore, I feel like this is his show me what you got kind of start with the looming return of the suspended DeAndre Hopkins here in Arizona. What are your thoughts on Moore's value heading into the week, being that we do have multiple teams on bye?
I am fascinated with how Arizona is going to play out once Hopkins comes back, but obviously we don't have to worry about that this week. So that's a story for next week's show. But he's 13 targets in the last 2 weeks, had a really good game last week. I'm a big fan of his, coming up against Seattle. They've given up huge points. They have 40s to the Lions. They have 27 to the 49ers. They just gave a 39 to the Saints with Andy Dalton at quarterback. So, as good as I know you and Rodas were talking about Geno Smith in the last segment, as good as their offense has been, their defense has been that bad. So, I think more it's Marquise Brown is obviously the guy that's going to be the most targeted, but I think it's going to be a close second between Moore and Ertz. And obviously Ertz is kind of a plotter and Moore has some big play capability. So I think he's a real good start as either in your season long leagues or he should be a pretty good DFS bargain too.
Ryan Hallam writes the wide receiver cornerback matchup report every single week on fantasyalarm.com. Very extensive, goes through all the receivers. And Ryan, you can call me a big dope or whatever, but it took me about 5 to 6 weeks to realize that you go in alphabetical order for the teams when you do the right receiver, then the left side receiver. And I don't know. I'm trying to think, wow, what order is he prioritizing? And then I'm like, oh, everything's in alphabetical order. Doy, I'm an idiot. And so that's why, Ryan, I'm wondering, wow, Rondale Moore, the first player, he must really love him. No, it's because he's on the Arizona Cardinals. Stupid Fensty right there. Alec Pierce, though, someone that I picked up, I spent $12 for in the bidding on waivers. Going into this matchup here, I mean, Doolin now, his season is over there, so that's one less target to worry about here. What are your thoughts when it comes to this matchup here, a rematch from week 2, where the Colts got shut out by Jacksonville? What are your thoughts with what we've seen from Pierce lately, and what do you think about him in this matchup against Jacksonville again?
I do like it. I know he wasn't around for the last time they played, but he's been really good the past couple weeks. he seemed to gain some trust from Matt Ryan, which, goes a long way because there's not a lot of passes to go around. So you have to get what you can from Matt Ryan and this Colts offense. So he's kind of morphed himself. He was more of a big play threat in college, and he's kind of turned himself into a nice, reliable possession receiver, which, again, you have to be because Matt Ryan can't throw the ball 10 yards down the field. So they really only have two options to throw to. It's Michael Pittman and now Pierce. I mean, the rest of their receivers, like I said, aren't that good. Sure, they throw to Hines and to tight end some, but, they have two main options. Jacksonville's defense has been better than I thought. Obviously, they were shut out the last time they played, but Pierce wasn't there, and I really like him. I think he's a great play for the upcoming week.
It's funny we mentioned Jacksonville here. Essen is writing in the comments section about potentially dropping. We mentioned Rondale Moore, dropping Zay Jones for Rondale Moore. And I've been talking a lot about it being like lateral moves with waivers and trades, but when you're thinking about which offense you can trust more, I mean, you would think from that alone, Rondale Moore will lock him in. But then with Hopkins coming back, it makes it a little bit tougher to decide. I'm okay with doing this, with making the ad drop here. What about you?
Yeah, actually, I am too. Yeah. I think that Arizona is, like you said, going to be more consistent. You can count on them more. Hopkins obviously is going to put a big question mark on how targets are moved out. But honestly, Jacksonville, as much as I like the team and Christian Kirk, we don't know how Trevor Lawrence is still going to perform from week to week. So I think that the question marks are a little bit more with Jacksonville's offense, where Zay Jones could be the second option, could be the third. While Rondale Moore is almost likely to be the third, I have more faith in their offense.
A lot of great information from Ryan Hallam from fantasyalarm.com. Final question, Ryan, and that's about Kenny Pickett. I mean, do you like what you've seen from him thus far? I know it's only been a start and a half, but do you think that with what Kenny Pickett can do you think someone like George Pickens can end up putting together more double-digit performances down the stretch?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of great stuff out of Pickett, but I've seen that he's willing to throw the ball down the field where Mitch Trubisky really didn't. And the Steelers are getting their faces beat in every single week. So there's 3 quarters of garbage time basically every week. It's going to happen again this week. So yeah, he's in there. He's slinging it around, and clearly he has a nice rapport with Pickett. Chase Claypool is basically a non-factor at all. So Pickens has become the number 2 receiver there, and Deontay Johnson is just a check down option or possession receiver. So if they're going to make any plays and we're going to see any progress for the Steelers, then I think Pickens is clearly the avenue they're going to go. There's going to be a lot of bad games. There's no doubt about it. The Steelers are not going to be leading the NFL in anything this year, but with the amount of time that they're going to be spending behind in the score and the nice little rapport that these two guys have, I think Pickens is a guy you can start most weeks.
Check out all of Ryan Hallam's work at fantasyalarm.com and follow him on Twitter. A lot of fun to follow Ryan Hallam on Twitter at Fighting Chance. Ryan, thank you so much for stopping by.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
Yes, he's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman. We did the NFC yesterday. Let's get to the AFC and see if we can at least go over 50% on teams that we can confidently start 3 players from in our fantasy football lineups. And no, we're not talking about it from this week's perspective where you got 4 teams on bye. We're talking everybody healthy, everybody playing. Let's get to the AFC here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, sponsored by Jock Market. Stay in the game. Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Right now, Ray, it is Cooper Kupp and nothing with this offense.
There goes Kupp. Needs the block. Gets it. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Cooper Kupp.
And Kupp, to his credit, still gets his. But, Ray, it's almost like this offense is so fixated on Cooper Kupp that nothing else. We can all complain about Stafford and the numbers, Ray, but the dude is getting murdered. Like there's no way he's making it to week 10 at this pace right now.
Am I a Stafford backer? Yes. Did I think his arm was going to be fine? Yes. Has his arm been fine? Absolutely. His arm's totally fine. The elbow issue that we were all concerned about is not a thing. However, everything else is a massive concern. As much as I have to support Stafford, I have him in a couple leagues. I've supported him when people have asked questions. I'm no longer supporting Stafford. I can't. It has nothing to do with Matt Stafford. He's totally fine. The offense is broken, straight broken. And this offensive line somehow was only 31 out of 32 in pass blocking over at Pro Football Focus. I have no idea how the Titans are worse. They can't even set a pocket. And he's getting hit on every play. There were about 4 times yesterday where it looked like he got knocked out of the game, but he soldiered through it. This offensive line is horrible. The coaching staff and Sean McVay, you guys, you suck. Straight. I mean, you're the Super Bowl champion. This is what you're putting out there. Like, when you're going well, everyone loves you. And we've joked around, if you used a urinal next to Sean McVay once, you have a coaching job in the NFL. Where's Boy Wonder? There's nothing. This offense is horrible.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
Geno Smith is like a savior right now, which
it's a joke.
We would have been laughed at if we said, even in week 2, if we said it. And right now, he's playing great football. And
Ronan, how much of an idiot am I? I mean, all the shows we were on together, I would repeatedly say, I'm not touching Metcalf, I'm not touching Lockett.
Everyone said that. I mean,
Metcalf especially, because for a while he was going in that like mid-4th round. Lockett, at least, you could get him at a decent value, the 7th, 8th round towards the end of draft season. But I was still like, I don't trust Geno. I'm not going Metcalf. I'm not going Lockett. I said it 1,000 times, and Geno Smith's been turning heads.
I did draft Geno in a super flex best ball league. I think as my 3rd quarterback, but I didn't expect this. I just said, well, he's starting. I thought maybe he might lose the job at some point to Lock, but I'm like, he's starting, so I took him. But this is in for leagues with 6 points for a passing touchdown. Josh Allen is averaging 36.1 points per game. Lamar's at 31.8, Mahomes 28.8, Hurts 27. And then there's a drop off to Goff at 23.8, and that includes his crappy game this week. So Geno's at 8th, 23.5. I mean, it's been pretty bad.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market.
Josh back to throw. Lost one right down the middle. This one is caught by Shakir at the 3. Heads into the end zone. Yet another Buffalo touchdown. Khalil Shakir gets into the act. A 24-yard lofted pass from Josh Allen.
Tannehill gives Henry diving, stretching the ball. Touchdown, Titans! Henry broke the plane by stretching the football, and Tennessee has surged back in front.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Highlights courtesy of the Titans and Bills radio networks here, back on the Playbook. Coming up right after us, Lisa and Rick Camlo for Bettor Sports Live, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 Eastern, the big giveaway. I'm going to be ready. I want that Giannis jersey. I want the autographed Giannis jersey. What autographed Giannis jersey? You haven't been paying attention. Or if you're just tuning in, tonight, giving one away here on BSN. Last night on the show, I keep saying last night, yesterday on the show, we went over the NFC teams that we would confidently start 3 players from in a given week in fantasy football. And the only yeses that we got from the NFC, the Eagles, the Lions, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, then we had the Saints, which was a yes, the Seahawks a yes, and the Cardinals. Now we get to the AFC here, and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on, everything baseball related too. Ron, let's start with the Buffalo Bills here, because I feel like this one is going to be a pretty easy one. I was asking Ryan Hallam about Gabe Davis, kind of up and down here, but a good matchup coming up for him regardless. But when everybody's healthy on this team, I feel like obviously Josh Allen and Diggs, but you can also put Gabe Davis at least in that category too, who you could start.
Yeah, you have to now. I know the target volume hasn't been there for him, which is going to make him maybe frustrating some weeks, because even last week he didn't have heavy volume. And I think that was some of the argument that people were going against him in the year, going into the year, because look at his targets. Now, I know he had the ankle issue, so you have to take that into account, but it's been 5, 6, 3, and 6. So even last week, just 6, but you want to invest in this offense. You know that they're going to put up points, and, he's capable of the big plays. He has 3 touchdowns in 4 games. Obviously, a huge game this week against Kansas City, but you're pretty much starting Gabe Davis every week, especially where you drafted him. Not that shouldn't matter at this point, but again, it's really investing in the offense. So you're playing him every week. Diggs was a first-round pick. Allen is someone you play every week. And there are other parts of this offense, too, I mentioned Khalil Shakir last week. I know there was a question in the chat about him. Right now, it's difficult trying to figure out what to do with him this week. I probably am not going to feel great about him this week because Isaiah McKenzie has cleared concussion protocol. But McKenzie was splitting with Jamison Crowder a little bit in the slot, and we know Crowder is out. So do they continue to let Shakir play? The problem is he won't get the targets then if he's splitting. And we saw last week that, he made plays, but it's not like he had a ton of targets in that game. And he had the 3 for 75 and a touchdown. But if you do think this game is going to shoot out and you have bye week issues and injuries, maybe I might be using him in a 14-team league. A lot's going to depend on the status of Michael Thomas. And I'm probably knowing Michael Thomas, he's not playing. But yeah, I mean, even Dawson Knox, we don't know if he's going to play. He's been a disappointment, which we should have seen coming. But yeah, they definitely have at least 3 guys you can use every single week, and some weeks 4. Oh yeah, let's not forget Devin Singletary. I know he's been up and down, but I think this looks like a good game for him this week because I don't think it'll be a blowout against the Chiefs. It's the game everyone's looking forward to. And you saw the Baltimore game, right? That was competitive. 11 for 49 on the ground. Not great, but 4 for 47 in the passing game. So if you can get that type of line this week, you're looking at double digits in PPR, and maybe he finds the end zone. So, yeah, the Bills obviously are one of the premier teams for fantasy where if there's a borderline question on one of their players, you're going to lean towards starting him just because this offense is one of the best in the NFL. Even though they've had some games this year where they haven't produced, but those were outliers. The Miami game, they piled up the yardage, but the humidity and they couldn't convert, only scored 19 points, but they put up almost 500 total yards of offense in that game. And then the Baltimore game, there was some weather. But outside of that, they're going to put up points every single week. You're looking at least 30 points for them almost every week. And I don't see it being different this week against Kansas City.
Does it make you a little bit more excited for Devin Singletary against the Chiefs after we saw what Josh Jacobs did to them on the ground? Even if it's a little bit, I'm not saying he's going to replicate that performance, but does it make you a little bit more confident? Because we talked about this leading into the game. The Chiefs surrendered the most receptions to running backs. I believe it was at 30 or 40. I forget. I think 40. And that was after most everybody else played going into that game. So you're right. He could end up catching a few passes, Singletary. But on the ground, do you have a little bit more confidence in him after seeing what Jacobs did against the Chiefs, who were staunch against the run?
The question is not what he will do. The question is, will the Bills hand him the football? That's the problem. I mean, if you look at his game log, he has 1 game of double-digit carries this year, and that was 11. They just don't run the football with him much. So, yeah, I mean, it should work out, and maybe this will be a season high. Maybe he gets 12, 13 carries. He averaged 7 yards per carry last week, but just 6 for 42. Obviously, we saw him, leave the game. It was a blowout, so didn't play much late. That altered it a little bit. But, yeah, this should be a matchup because you expect a close game. The total, the last I saw, was 54. I don't know if that has risen yet. But you do expect a lot of points in this game. I mean, this is one game where it would be surprising if we don't get a high-scoring game. It really would. And I know we kind of looked at a couple games this year expecting it to be high-scoring, and it wasn't. But this one, I don't see how it's not high-scoring.
I'm looking at the total on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, and it is at 54. So
is that line 2.5 or 3?
That line is at 2.5. Right
okay,
now.
Yeah, it was 3 at one point, and I was a little surprised by that. So I'm sure when you look at, I believe this is the first time Mahomes is a home underdog, so money probably is coming in on Kansas City now.
I'm actually looking at the totals here. That might be the only game in the 50s for this week, I think, right now. Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of 45.
What about Cardinals Seahawks?
That's in the 50. That's 50.5.
Yeah, that's the only other one. Yeah, I mean, but look, I mean, you see the trend of what's going on, and a lot of these games are going under. The primetime games too are going under. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Miami. This one has 3 players instantly. The 2 receivers in Hill and Waddle fully healthy, and Raheem Mostert. They fit the bill.
I did see Raheem Mostert dealing with a knee issue, I think, is what I
No.
saw. Yeah. I mean, it's Wednesday, though, so I wouldn't worry about it. But then again, but then it's him. Yeah. Because
he's Mr. Glass, Ronus.
Just when everyone feels good about him, right? It's like, oh, yeah, now he's dealing with an injury. He did not practice with a knee issue. So, and he does have a history of knee injuries. So you hope that Thursday and Friday are fine, but maybe all of a sudden Chase Edmonds is back in play when everyone dismissed him. But
I've gotten asked multiple questions, social media, about dropping Chase Edmonds, and you can't. You just can't with this guy. You have to keep him on your bench because of Mostert's injury history.
yeah, because he could go right back. Even if he was splitting with Gaskin, he could still play a role. It's very difficult to drop any running back at this point. Maybe in a more shallow format and you have bye week issues, fine. But in general, I think you don't want to because of Mostert's injury history. But yeah, Miami, I would say there's definitely 3. And then, when 2 is back at quarterback, and even Bridgewater in a super flex week, I started him last week. Thanks for the 0. And this week, it doesn't sound like he's going to play. I mean, they made it seem like Skylar Thompson is starting, even if Bridgewater is good to go on Thursday. So, but this is what's going to happen now, especially with Miami under the spotlight. They're going to be really cautious with these quarterbacks.
Let's move on to the New York Jets, the over 500 New York Jets right now.
Be happy.
Trust me, I'm very happy.
You should.
But then I'm very happy. But then I hear from all my friends who are Jets fans that are thinking they're going to the Super Bowl, and it ruins it for me, man. It ruins it. Can't we just enjoy this now? We have to automatically think the playoffs. I know that they have the longest playoff drought in the league. I believe in 2010 was the last time they made it. But they're not going to the Super Bowl. They face teams with injuries and quarterback switching.
Yeah, I'm not even sure they're going to the playoffs either. So they might want to relax on that. But, definitely you got to feel good if you're a Jets fan right now. The future looks pretty good for them. I mean, Breece Hall is a must play every week. It's the receivers, man. That's the problem at this point. Elijah Moore has been a major disappointment for where he was drafted. And things have changed now with Wilson at quarterback. But again, it's hard to look at last week because that game script just did not favor the passing. He only had 21 pass attempts. They were up at the half by 5. They ran the ball well. Hall got 2 long receptions, a 79-yarder and a 21. And the targets, 4 for Corey Davis, 4 for Wilson, 4 for Elijah Moore. So
I don't think it's a yes, man.
It might not be. I think we need more, though, before we determine this, right? Because we saw Wilson come back against the Steelers, and that was a game that was back and forth. Now, he only completed 50% of his passes, 18 to 36. Corey Davis had 6 targets, Moore 4, Conklin 5, Wilson 6. Hall 6. So I want to say yes, because you would think Wilson and Moore, but I don't even think we could say that with Moore now. And I'm not ready to say it with Conklin. So you look at Green Bay, at Denver, home to New England, home to the Bills, at New England. I mean, you got to figure they're going to pass more. So I guess we'll say no for now, but I think this could emerge into a yes.
Maybe we thought after a few weeks that Garrett Wilson, the rookie, was going to be that guy.
Different quarterback, though. We talked about this. Flacco was throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game. You were on his over attempts prop, which was good. But it's different with Wilson there. It's not the same way that they're displaying the quarterback. And part of it is opponent. Flacco was playing from behind. They were down Baltimore week 1. They were down against Cleveland, had that comeback, down against the Bengals. And, since Wilson came back, competitive game with Pittsburgh, and they jumped ahead against Miami, and Miami had a third-string quarterback come in after Bridgewater had the injury. So that's why it's kind of difficult to assess at this point. And Jets' schedule does get more difficult, and I got to think Wilson is playing from behind a little bit more, which opens up more opportunity for him to throw the ball. Yeah,
the way that they're spreading the ball around, it's kind of like the Chiefs in a way, outside of Travis Kelce, of course. It's the same thing here. It's hard to really put at one point thought it would be Garrett Wilson. Another point thought it'd be Corey Davis. Where the hell is Elijah Moore been, but buried on my bench in the league that we're in together? that it's been very hard to figure all that out. And like we said before, we warned you about Conklin. So they are a no, the first no from the AFC East. The Patriots at this point, when thinking about what they have, I mean, Jacoby Myers, and this is where everybody healthy. They technically, I guess, have 3 then, right? With the 2 running backs and Jacoby Myers?
I don't know. Is Myers an every week start? I know
he's doing well.
I mean, I do have him ranked, I think, in the high 20s, low 30s this week, but that's teams on bye. Yeah, I guess when he's played, he's had 3 solid games. Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, obviously this week, forget it. I kind of want to put him higher in the rankings. He's top 10, but you can make a case for Ramondre Stevenson's top 5 this week. You really can, because he is going to get insane volume, and the Browns have been a sieve against the run. So Stevenson's definitely someone that you're going to lock in this week. And if you have him, you're in a good spot. I guess we'll say yeah. But, I mean, I guess Harris and Stevenson both, depending on the week and the matchup, are in. And then I guess you could do Jacoby, and that's about it. So we can say yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be tricked or anything. I know that there were reports about Harris, the hamstring, missing multiple weeks. And
Patriots do this all the time,
right?
Man. He's
they
listed
did it with
as
Mac Jones.
Like, come on, man. Yeah, like, don't insult us, Bill. I know you're smarter than most of us, but come on, man. Just like, what are we doing?
Dude, Tom Brady used to show up for the Super Bowl press conferences in a walking boot every year.
They always put everyone, like 37 guys, as questionable.
They do. It's Harris, hamstring. Harris is not playing. I don't want any of us to get tricked or anything, because we have decisions to make in our leagues. I'd be shocked. We go from he's going to miss potentially multiple games to now he's practicing limited. Get out of here with that. I don't buy it at all. We were dealing with the exact same situation, a week or 2 ago with Mac Jones. What happened? Ended up not playing. And that's pretty much what we were told the entire time. But the Patriots are a yes at this point. So far in the AFC, we are 3-1 there in the AFC East with the Patriots, yes, Miami, yes, Buffalo, yes, as well. Let's continue going through the rest of the AFC and see fully healthy, no bye weeks, all the teams, whether we can start 3 players from an NFL team confidently in our fantasy football lineups. It's the playbook here on Bettor Sports Network.
Don't miss the playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Sponsored by Jock Market. Stay in the game. Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla.
He went to Denver to swindle a desperate franchise out of $250 million. That's what Russell Wilson did. He went to Denver in the great state of Colorado and bamboozled them all, including me. And now he is just bilking $250 million from these people. These poor people, they don't deserve this. Totally on board with the decision to bring on Russell Wilson. Totally on board. I don't regret it to this day. Absolutely the right move. Bold, aggressive move, make a big trade, pay him all the money, bring him in. Now you're in the Super Bowl fast lane. Let's go giddy up Peyton Manning style. Russ is the one who has not held up his end of the bargain. This is on him, and I am looking at him completely differently right now.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, weekdays at 5 Eastern.
I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't going to bring anything up.
Granted, slowly to third. Manny charges his. Now plays the hop. Throw to first is in time. And the Padres have not only captured the moment, they have captured the wild card series.
Really sucks when it comes to our New York Mets. They lost. Joe Musgrove's ears were pretty shiny, but whatever. They found nothing growing, and just like that, 101 wins out the window.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing performance to end the season. They played their worst baseball over the last month. They didn't do much at the trade deadline, which came back to hurt them all year. I said it was imperative that they win the division because of what happened. You put yourself in a 3-game series now where, you run into a team with good starting pitching like the Padres with Yu Darvish and Musgrove dominating, and this is what happened. So definitely a disappointing season, at least the end to the season, and they didn't come through when they needed to. They needed 1 win in Atlanta in the 3-game series. They didn't get it, and they showed up Saturday and did not show up at all last night. Just 1 hit, just really bad, man. So I want my refund for the divisional round because I did get tickets. And then they tell you, oh, you're not going to get your refund until 3 to 4 weeks after the conclusion of the postseason. Really? 2 months? Come on, give me my money now. You're not playing it. Give me my money back.
Maybe they have net 60 or something.
No, man, just give me my money. You're not playing. I want my money back.
Yeah, don't worry.
Shouldn't have to wait.
You'll win it back with your fantasy basketball league anyway, Ronus. We know how it goes, okay? We know how it goes.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Are you ready?
Lisa Ann is hosting her own sports talk show on BSN. Listen to Bettor Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, exclusively on Bettor Sports Network. Or listen whenever you want on the app with BSN on demand.
Jackson empties the backfield, has 3 receivers bunched to the right. He drops the throw, fires across the middle. Andrews has him for 5, turns, and he's in for a touchdown. Mark Andrews. First down and goal. They give it to Chubb, right side. He bangs and drives and scores. Touchdown, his second of the day. Nick Chubb.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every hour, every minute, every second of every game.
Fensty and Ronus here talking about teams in the AFC that we could start at least 3 players from in our fantasy football lineups comfortably here. By the way, with the baseball game, it continues to stay at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's when the Braves-Phillies game is going to start. And Ron, I don't know if you saw, do you see, you don't follow any of the MLB fight accounts or anything, right? Where people are in the stands are getting into fights and then the videos are posted all over it?
Not a specific account, but sometimes the fights will work their way into my timeline.
I just don't get it, man. There are so many fights that happen at sporting events. I don't know how things just get to that point very quickly. For instance, I saw one fight from game 1 of the series between the Braves and the Phillies where the Phillies fan was standing up and cheering and everything like that, being loud and boisterous. Braves fan just turns around and just chucks his beer all over him. Like that's who gets to that point where you just do that. Like you have the mindset, you have the cojones, the stones to do that. It ruins the sporting experience, man. It's, I can't wait. I cannot wait to take my daughter to sports games. I can't wait. It's going to be fun, especially that first one. But who knows where I'll be sitting and what drunk idiot that I'll be sitting next to that could cause a fight. It's like you see how these fights happen because of the way the stands are. They just spill over and everybody else gets hurt, crap poured on them. I don't know how this happens.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is alcohol, people drinking too much and then just make dumb decisions. I mean, I haven't really seen any fights, and I've been to a lot of Mets games this year. I went to game 2 of the wild card series against the Padres. And there were some Padres fans around and, people were just yelling at each other, but it was all friendly. Even the Mets-Yankees game I went to, a lot of Yankees and Mets fans, but it was all just friendly banter, and that's how it should be. There doesn't need to be a point where it gets violent. You want to go back and forth, Yankees suck, all that stuff. Yeah, that's fine. But as long as it doesn't get personal and physical, and unfortunately you always have a group of people or a couple of individuals who just are dumb, and it does make it tough, especially if you do want to take your kids, to a game. And then the language obviously can be really bad too. So, I'm a passionate fan, but I'm not there to get into any personal stuff with people. I just want to enjoy the game, let people root for the team. You want to have friendly banter going back and forth. That's cool. I remember one of the Mets Yankee games, these kids were screaming like, Yankees suck and everything at an adult, but it was all good fun, and it never got to a situation where people were fighting. So, I don't think I saw any fights this year at Citi Field. Maybe they were and I didn't see them, but I didn't see anything, and that's the way it should be.
There was one screaming match that I saw between 2 fans in sections right next to each other, 2 Met fans actually, when you had the one Met fan being like, it's okay, and the other Met fans like, they do this all the time to us. They do this all the time.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's fine as long as it doesn't get physical.
It should never get physical. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm in the minority when it comes to this, but who wants to go get smashed drunk at a sporting event? To me, I guess because I'm just I don't view it as a social event. I'm going there because I'm passionate about sports. I get very into the game. I've told you this before. I get my food at the stadium before the game starts. And once I sit down, I don't get up from my seat. I don't go and walk around during halftime or anything like that. I just, for the most part, sit there. I like being in the atmosphere. I like just watching the game, and I don't see how having 8 drinks at a baseball game is fun.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I really don't drink. I mean, I did go to a game this year and did have 3 drinks. Like they were like 20-ounce alcoholic drinks, but that was because my friend kept giving them to me, and I did get a little buzz. But I typically don't drink much at games. Maybe one. Again, I'm not there to get drunk. I want to enjoy the game. If you want to get drunk, stay home and get drunk and watch the game. Go to a bar and get drunk and watch the game. I just don't get it. But people just have an infatuation of like getting drunk all the time, and then you see everyone tailgating before the game. I mean, half these people are drunk before they even enter the stadium.
Right. They don't want to pay the ridiculous $17 prices for a little pour of liquor there. That's the thing.
I get that, but drink before the game, but not to
agree.
the point of getting drunk, or drink after the game.
Yeah.
That's the one thing though with Citi Field. They don't really have anything around there. And they've been talking about trying to build up that area because they do need some like bars or something for people to chill before and after the game, and they just don't have it.
Yeah, that's true. That, by me, Nationals Park has the entire area right outside. You take the
that's
metro.
smart.
Yeah, you take the metro, the train right to the stadium, and the walkway. You look on the right, you've got like a bullpen bar area, another bar right next to it. They have a rooftop bar a few blocks away that you can chill and watch the games from up top, and you don't have to pay the ridiculous, like at Wrigley Field. They have those seats on the roof of buildings right near, and you have to pay still a decent amount of money to go watch the game from those seats from a few buildings away. When it comes to the Nationals Park in DC, though, you can just go and just chill at the bar on the rooftop. So, yes, Adam Bernard saying we have to get back to business. Oh, my God. We have to get back to sports right now. That's why he's the resource. He keeps us on track, Roan. Let's not waste any more time and go over the AFC North and start with the Ravens. I was looking at this during our box break here. Obviously, you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Mark Andrews. But then after that, based off the confidence factor here, Bateman, Duvernay, Dobbins. The problem is we haven't seen much of Dobbins. Bateman has been a little bit banged up. He's been up and down. And because of that, Duvernay's benefited even more.
Yeah, I think when Bateman's healthy, you're starting him every week. I know it's been up and down, but they do take shots to him deep. So I would say yes. Dobbins is, still kind of on being limited here. And that was my concern with him coming back, that you wouldn't see him get a full workload. And so he's dependent on scoring a touchdown right now. So, but I'll put Bateman in there because I think they don't have many wide receivers, and, he's going to get most of the targets when he's in there. I know Duvernay takes a little bit away from him, but I'll say yes to Bateman. So I'll give him 3.
The Cleveland Browns, we've got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and David Njoku, and Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper, yeah. Right?
They got 4.
Yeah. Which maybe people are surprised about, but, they put up points. Wow, I did not realize this. Do you know where they rank in the AFC in points scored?
I'm not looking at this. My standings are like right here, so I'm not going to look at it right now. I'm going to go with, out of the 16 teams, I'm going to say that they're 4th.
Yeah, man. I don't think many people would believe that. I mean, I guess when you start to think of it, you would say Bills first for sure, Kansas City up there, and then you would say Baltimore. And I guess when you start thinking about the 4th, I mean, obviously Miami, because of their quarterback situation, maybe would have been up there. But yeah, well, we said offenses are down. Maybe people would think the Bengals, but obviously they've underachieved. No one would think Titans, Colts, Jags, or Texans, so eliminate them. You would think maybe the Chargers,
right,
and they're not. They're at 122. Browns are 133, so it could be something what this offense looks like when Deshaun Watson comes back, if he's the quarterback that we saw when he was last on the field.
It's funny, some of these teams that we're saying yes to, the Patriots, the Browns, the Seahawks, even the Saints. It's very interesting because when you just think about it off the cuff, you're unsure whether or not those teams have 3. But when you really dive into it, like we're doing, it's funny because you would think really the Browns 4 players, that one was one of the easiest teams that we talked about here.
Yeah, I mean, I know Cooper has had 2 down games, but you pretty much have to start Cooper every week at this point. And you know you're going to be hit with a 2 for 18 game. It's going to happen. And you just have to accept it, because if you try to pick and choose, you're going to wind up with a 2 for 18 in your lineup, and then you're going to miss the 8 for 112 and a touchdown.
Right. Yeah, that's never fun. Let's move on to the Bengals here. The Bengals have multiple options that you could go with just alone before even thinking Mixon, Burrow, Chase, even though Chase hasn't been the best year for Chase, and Higgins a bit banged up, but T. Higgins as well, you're starting every week. And Joe Mixon too. I mean, again, for Joe Mixon, the yards per carry, the volume should still
The volume
be
is there, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, look, it's not been good at all, but, it's when you're getting 20-plus touches every game and you're involved in the passing game, you're in there. I mean, we're starting to – you could even make a case for Hayden Hurst. He's got at least 7 targets in 3 of 5 games. Now, I think the last week was probably T. Higgins related, but I have Darren Waller on bye. I picked up Hayden Hurst, so I'm hoping it continues this week. But I do need T. Higgins on the field. I mean, that was crushing, man. That was just poor reporting. We knew he had an ankle issue, but they didn't say. I mean, I know they're saying, well, he tried and he aggravated it. He only played 10 snaps, but that was a tough 0, man. And again, I had a lineup with Higgins and
Teddy Bridgewater.
No, Bridgewater and Waller.
All
I
3?
had Higgins. What was the Higgins one? Higgins and Higgins and Hines in the host league. That's why I had a bad week, man. I had Hines get hurt in the first drive, 1.8. Higgins give me a 0. It's like, okay, I guess. And even Everett had a down game. So sometimes there's nothing you can do, and you just have to move on to the next week. I know we got to go through this, but I just wanted to bring this up quickly. I was looking today, and I remember I wanted to talk about this real briefly. My home league, where we have double headers, right? So we're through 5 weeks of double headers. The team who is in first with an 8-2 record has the 11th most points in the league out of 12. So that's with double headers. He's in first with the 11th most points. And remember, I told you I was going to break up my team, but I said I'm not that far behind in points. I'm 3-7 with the 5th most points in the league. I have more points than him.
Aren't spots also, in addition to the doubleheaders, spots also determine the final 2 by the points?
Top 5 record, and then out of the remaining teams, the team with the most points get in, which I am not that team right now. There's a team that's 4-6 that has more points than me. So, but the bottom line is I'm right there. So that's why I didn't break it up. And this is why you have to assess your team. Sometimes people just look at record. Like, I'm getting questions. Oh, I'm 2-3. I'm like, your season's not over at 2-3, man. Like, how many points do you have? Oh, you have underperformers. Have you had injuries? Like, the record is not the full indicator. And then, a team in first place, 8-2, has the 11th most points in the league, and that's with double headers. And again, just look at the points against. His average points against, 164.6. Me, 197.9.
Wow, that's
right. And that's with double headers. So double headers don't completely eliminate everything. Obviously, this is only 5 weeks of a sample. So I'm hoping it changes as the year goes on, but that's again why this team is clearly benefiting from a real fortunate schedule, and I am absolutely getting destroyed by a bad schedule. So, and the same team that's ahead of me for the playoff spot, him too, 200.8 points average against. So
it just makes you want to put everybody in the pool and just have a point system where
people don't like that.
I know. I played in a league like that before, that had been around since 1997, that our old colleague Matt Camp used to be the commissioner of. And it was every team, it was you get the most points, you get 11 points for the standings, 10, 9, 8.
So it's like Roto. It's like
it is like Roto. Yeah. It is like Roto, but what's cool about that, Ron, is then back when it was the 17 weeks, in week 16 for the final, you would have 4 teams in there. You'd have the final 4 based off points, and they divided it up into 3 different sections so that after the first 5 weeks, someone was getting paid for the most points, and then they'd have the next 5 weeks, and then the next 5 weeks.
See, that's something too. Like, say when you get to the semifinals for that 2 weeks, the 4 teams just instead of head to head over the 2 weeks, the team with the most points wins the championship, and the team that's second. Like, why can't we do that? I mean, that's something I might suggest that to my league next year. I've thought about it for a couple of years.
But can I follow up with a point here?
No.
Not bringing week 18 involved though, right? So the 2-week final would be 16 and 17.
Right. Or if it's a 12-team league and you only want 4 teams to get in the playoffs, do a 3-week championship. And I mean, the high stakes leagues kind of do it like that. They take your average from the regular season and then you go over the 3-week playoffs, you add your total points to that. So, but I don't know. I think that would be better. How many times, it's happened to me numerous times, have you been in the semifinals and destroyed put up like 185, your opponent puts up 197, you lose, and then the next week you look and you're like, I would have won the championship had I advanced, right? Or the other semifinal bracket.
I try not to do that, man.
I do. I look because
it makes me feel very upset when I do
I
that.
like to feel upset. So I do it.
Dude, it pisses me off. I try to do that,
but that's why. I mean, again, I know people love that head-to-head aspect, but I am absolutely open to doing something like that.
Yeah, I'll say this. You know what frustrates me even more? When your semifinals, like what'd you say, 191 to 185, and then the other freaking semifinal is like 90 to 86.
Right. That's happened to me so many times, man. And it's just like, really? So it's just, you got a bad draw, and it's like that decides it. And I know that's people go, oh, that's part of the game, this and that. But again, like, you want to try and eliminate as much luck as possible. So in that situation, if you had like a 3-week tournament between 4 teams, okay, fine. Now you're second and you're still in good shape. You can still win a championship. You put up a big week, but now your season's not over. But if you do head to head, now your season's over. Like, why? Like, why do we do this?
That's what's frustrating to me, man. And I've been in that situation a ton, where our final, we're combining for about 270, 280 points. And then the other crap final is barely putting up 85 points, and someone's going to the championship.
My friend's work league right now, like, I'm assisting him with the team. Now, he got screwed last week because he had T. Higgins and I think another player. He's 1-4 with the second most points in the league. Like, and they don't like, and I'm like, damn, man, like, his team is good. And it's like, if he loses this week, I have 1-5 and they don't reward playoff spots for points. I mean, come on, man. I mean, again, just look at the points against column. That always tells the story. When you have a team with a lot of points, you're like, what's their record? Why are they 1-4? Immediately points against. Oh yeah, they're getting destroyed because they go against great teams every week. Like, he put up like 1 week, like I think this past week, even with the Higgins 0, 157, the opponent had 179.
That's bad luck.
It is, man. I mean, and a season should not be determined by that.
No, it shouldn't. And, you're investing money and everything. It's your team perform. It should be how your team's performing versus the rest of the league, and not just essentially facing the team that's happened to have their season high when it comes to scoring. And that happens so much in fantasy football. Final team, by the way, Ronas, when it comes to the AFC North, the Steelers, they don't fit the bill of 3. You're starting Najee Harris. You're not starting with confidence.
Deontay Johnson, yes. Pickens, yes. And Freiermuth, yes.
Oh, I guess you're right. I guess you're right about that. Pickens, you could put him there now, you think?
Yes.
Okay.
With Pickett at quarterback, yeah, I feel good about him.
All right. I forgot about Freiermuth too. So yeah, they fit it with two wide receivers and a tight end. Again, shocking. A lot more AFC teams, Roan, thus far. We're through half the conference, and we have just one no, and that's the Jets. Everybody else, we've said yes thus far. So we'll see if we have a few more no's here, about 8 teams to go. He's Adam Ronas. I'm Justin Fensterman. On deck, Rick Kamla, Lisa Ann, Bettor Sports Live. They'll be talking about everything from football, maybe a little bit of basketball. We'll have some baseball games hanging in there as well. This is the Playbook here on Bettor Sports Network.
This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronas, presented by FantasyAlarm.com and sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every second of the game. Corey, Nando, and friends, presented by Mayo Media on Bettor Sports Network.
Offense is down this year, Nando.
Yeah, it is.
Offense is down this year. Definitely. Offense has been problematic this year. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that struggle offensively. Let me look it up right now. Geno Smith right now is QB 6 on the season.
I can buy that.
I can buy that too. What's in the top 12 right now, Nando?
Yeah.
This is going to blow your mind. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, you know. QB 4, Kyler Murray. QB 5, Joe Burrow. Even with that being the top 5, okay, cool. I get it. Now here's where things get weird. QB 6, Geno Smith. QB 7, Carson Wentz. QB 8, Jared Goff. Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff on QB 6, 7, and 8. That's crazy. Those are undrafted dudes. Wentz throwing for a lot of yards. The Commanders can move the football, Nando.
Yeah.
The problem is they shoot themselves in the foot with penalties.
Right.
And that turnover is coming at some point. That Wentz interception, that Wentz fumble, you're going to get it at some point. Yesterday, they got it at the worst possible time. They're driving down, try to win the game. Bam, there goes the turnover. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But outside of that, his yardage, he might have threw for 375 yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
QB 9, Herbert. QB 10, Mahomes. Mahomes and Herbert, two of the first quarterbacks going off the board this year in drafts are QB 9 and 10. QB 11, Kirk Cousins. QB 12, Tom Brady. 13 is Daniel Jones.
He's running.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is athletic. He is athletic. That was one thing that Jones does have with his game.
He's running through injury.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to hold on to his job.
Give him credit, man. Good for him.
This offense has not been great, been bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Offense has not been great this season. QB 32, Mac Jones. He's a starter. Winston has missed time. Dak Prescott has missed time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that could be no Trey Lance, right? Justin Fields is a starter. You didn't expect much from him. Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, he stinks. That's a starter. Matthew Stafford, a starter who stinks. Matt Ryan, a starter who stinks. Ryan Tannehill, a starter who stinks. Aaron Rodgers is QB 18. The reason why offense stinks is because quarterback play has declined.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
Shotgun snap. Wilson bounces in the pocket, throws the ball to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver! Back of the end zone, Cortland Sutton. A laser strike from Russell Wilson.
First down and goal to go at the 1. They're going to throw it. Near side it is. Oh, touchdown! Kansas City, Travis Kelce. 1, 2, 3, 4 touchdown receptions.
This is The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com and sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every second of the game.
The Playbook getting ready to close for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, per the usual, getting you ready for the start of Week 6 of the fantasy football season. We're talking about AFC teams. By the way, Philly Mac, I'm seeing your comment here. How about this one, Roan? He has Patrick Mahomes. Dak is available, though. Would he roster both, though, potentially dropping a receiver just so that he can fulfill his bye week? And to me, just seems like a little bit risky. I hesitate in dropping one of his receivers. I mean, some of Philly Mac's receivers that he has was considering Pickens, also was seeing Lamb, Sutton, Hopkins, Lazard, Juju. I don't know if I do this necessarily, Rowan.
I wouldn't. I'll worry about the bye week when it comes, and it's 1 week. You can pick up a quarterback. In a 10-team league, you don't need 2 quarterbacks. I mean, I don't even roster 2 quarterbacks. I'm in a 14-team league with only 6 bench spots, so I'm not rostering 2 quarterbacks. I'll worry about the bye week when it comes.
I have 2 quarterbacks in our SiriusXM host league, Ronis, because I'm dealing with the Russell Wilson situation, and I ended up snagging Geno Smith. So this is very rare for me to have 2 quarterbacks, but that's a situation where I feel it's okay to have the 2 quarterbacks. So that's a situation I'm with right now. Let's talk about the final 2 divisions in the AFC. And let's actually start. You were hearing there, courtesy of the Broncos Radio Network. You were hearing some of the Broncos highlights, few and far between. Players to start with confidence from there. I just said with Russell Wilson, I can't fully start him with confidence, but some of the other options there, I mean, that you could think about there, you've got your receivers with Judy, Sutton. You also have potentially as well Melvin Gordon, Mike Boone. But can we name 3 with full confidence? I don't think so.
No, I mean, I don't think Judy's a full confidence guy right now. He's 1 touchdown, 29 targets, only 14 receptions. So I don't think you could feel confident starting him right now. So
Right.
I'd say Sutton and Gordon. That's it.
Yeah, jeez. The Raiders. Let's move on to them because fully healthy. By the way, we're still waiting. We know that some of the legal situations regarding Devontae Adams getting figured out. We don't know of any kind of discipline. The Raiders are on bye, so we don't know what Adams could be facing. I know that suspension has been thrown around for him pushing down the cameraman. But with the Raiders, everybody in fully confident. You've got Jacobs, you've got Adams. But then after that, can we start Carr with full confidence? Renfro with full confidence? That's where, I mean, I guess Waller would be the other guy. So they would
when he's
fit.
healthy.
Yeah. So they fit as well. So they are,
And Renfro might become one as he gets healthier and they incorporate him more.
Right. And I know, by the way, I think it was Wookie that was asking in the chat about Renfro. So stick with Hunter Renfro for a little bit later on there. But yeah, he was concussed and that knocked him out a little bit. Other teams in this division, the Chiefs. We talked about this with the Chiefs situation with their receivers. Hard to find one of them in confidence. You got Mahomes, you've got Kelsey, and then after that, I mean, does CEH put them over the top?
No, but I'm starting to feel pretty good about Valdez-Scantling. I know he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but at least 7 targets in 3 of the last 4 games, 6 for 90 last week, 3 for 63 the week before, 4 for 48. I think he's getting there, but that's crazy because this is one of the best offenses in the NFL, and we actually have to question this.
Yes.
So
we put him as a no then.
And yeah, Mahomes told us too. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna, sorry to fantasy players, but I'm gonna spread the ball around." He's not lying because I think MVS is getting there. If we have this conversation in 2 to 3 weeks, I think we could say yes. But I guess right now we got to say no.
For the Chargers, this one is obviously a yes here between Herbert, Eckler, Keenan Allen healthy, Mike Williams healthy alone. That puts them over the top. I don't think there's much debate regarding that.
Right.
So they are a yes. So for the West, you had no for the Chiefs, surprisingly. No for the Broncos, not surprising. And then yes for the Raiders and the Chargers. Final division, we go to the AFC South here. And I was just thinking about the Tennessee Titans, fully healthy. You've got Derrick Henry, but then Treylon Burks and Robert Woods. I've gotten them wrong. I benched them on the weeks for Robert Woods that he actually did well. I had him on the bench, and I started him on the weeks that he sucked. I can't start him with confidence, though, when they're active.
Yeah, it's only Derrick Henry right now. That's it. I think Burks could be, but he's on IR. He's not there. Woods, no. So it's only Derrick Henry.
Then we move on to the Colts. And with this team, you've got Jonathan Taylor, obviously, has been banged up. Michael Pittman, who we want to see more from as well when thinking about possible contenders. I'm hoping that Alec Pierce, considering how much I invested in both the leagues that I got him in, I'm hoping he becomes someone we have no Doolin to worry about anymore. His season is concluded. But can you really start all 3 with full confidence? I'm having trouble with that.
Not yet. I mean, I definitely feel better about Pierce right now. And, he was picked up in some leagues. I did pick him up 2 weeks ago. I didn't start him. But, definitely a good sign last week with 9 targets, 8 for 81. The week before, he had 4 for 80 on 6 targets. So he's starting to get involved. Matt Ryan's looking for him. So I think we're getting there with him. But I don't think we could say full confidence yet because easily this week he can go for 3 for 30. Then we're going, here we go. So
right.
I think it's Pittman and Taylor right now.
Jacksonville. I mean, if we would have said before a few weeks ago, James Robinson, now I can't say him. So I want to put Travis Etienne in this grouping that I can start him with confidence. And I feel like his role will only grow moving forward here. So you've got Etienne, Christian Kirk as well. And then do you put anybody else in there that you can think about? I mean,
no, it was looking good for Zay Jones, but then Marvin Jones has the big week. I can't say yes to Evan Ingram, even though from a tight end perspective, he's looking pretty good right now. But that's not saying a lot. That's just looking at the landscape of tight end. It's Ingram has no touchdowns. And yeah, this past week he had 6 for 69 on 10 targets, but the week before 1 for 16, the week before 1 for 9. Then he had 7 for 46 and 4 for 28. So you're still looking at only 2 games of double-digit points in PPR formats, and he's yet to score. So from a tight end perspective, sure, he's in that 10 to 15 range, but I don't think we could put him in that conversation. So I'll say no.
Final team, Houston. I think they're going to be a no too as well. I mean, the only 2 names that really come to mind are Cooks, and it's barely, and Dameon Pierce, obviously.
Yeah, Pierce for sure, and I think that's it. I mean, I don't even think we could say yes to Cooks right now. He's had a real disappointing year. No one really talks about him, but 3 of his last 4 games have been absolutely terrible. 4 for 20 against Jacksonville. He had the good game against the Chargers with 757 and a touch, but then before that, 2 for 22, 4 for 54. So he's had 3 really down games and 2 games that cost you. Week 1 was solid, 7 for 82 on 12 targets, but targets have gone down. He had double-digit targets first 2 games and then 7, 7, and 6. So it's been a disappointing season, and 42 targets, only 24 catches. So not a good percentage there. So I got to start lowering him in the rankings, man, because he's probably going to be a wide receiver 3 in the rankings every single week. They're on bye this week, so I don't have to worry about it. But I think he's more of a wide receiver 3 when we thought maybe he was a wide receiver 2.
I'm holding out hope for Nico Collins to continue this run here. Want a few more targets for him, but 3 for 82 in week 4, 4 for 65. Being that we're talking about pulling strings with the scoring and everything like that, they're on bye here this week. We don't have to worry about it. But I'm hoping, Rome, because I know that you and I talked a lot about Nico Collins. I'm hoping that the production continues to trend in this direction for him.
Yeah, again, no touchdowns, though, and that's the problem. This offense just lacks anything of a ceiling, and I think maybe we thought Davis Mills would take a step up from last year, and it really hasn't happened. It's been the opposite, just 6.3 yards per pass attempt, 5 touchdowns and 4 picks. He has 2 games of no touchdowns, so that's the problem. Now, one of those games was at Denver. We know they're good defensively. At Jacksonville last week, they're improved defensively and have a good defensive line. But, those are some of the teams you got to face. So, yeah, it's been a disappointment for him, and it's hurt the offense outside of Pierce.
Let's review the AFC because we had 7 for yeses for the NFC of teams that we can start at least 3 players from with confidence. Everybody healthy, no bye weeks, no contingencies. Buffalo, yes. Miami, yes. The Jets, no. The Patriots, yes. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers, all yes. And then you go to the South and you have 4 no's with the Titans, Colts, Jaguars, and Texans. And then you go to the West, you have the Chiefs as a no, the Chargers as a yes, Broncos no, Raiders yes. So we have 9 here of the 16. So we made it over 500 for the AFC, but 7 of 16 when it comes to the NFC here, man. So you're looking at 50% of teams that we can start in the entire league, 3 players from with full confidence. Wow, what a year we've faced thus far.
Yeah, it's been challenging, and that's what I figured because there's just you don't feel good about putting a lot of players in your lineup right now, and especially with 4 teams on bye, it's only going to get worse.
Essen, we addressed your ad drop question before, and you can definitely make that drop more for Jones. How about this one, though? Because we joked about Juju, Mr. 3 for 39, Duvernay, Mr. End Zone here. In this is a 10-team league that Frostnick is in, actually. Would you drop Juju and pick up Duvernay here? Interesting one.
I would not. Again, I'm assuming when Bateman's back, it's going to hurt Duvernay, and I'm still going to take the player in the better offense. I know Juju has been disappointing, but he still has Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football, and Duvernay's just in a low pass volume offense, and Bateman and Andrews will take away from him, so I can't do that.
Baseball getting ready to start up 7:30 p.m. Eastern with the weather issues in Atlanta. Rome, give me a quick prediction. Who's winning the 2 games tonight?
The Braves and the Dodgers.
Ooh, there we go here. There we go. Braves and Dodgers. We'll see what Atlanta can do. He's Adam Rodas. I'm Justin Fensterman. Coming up next, Rick Kamla, Lisa Ann, Bettor Sports Live. We'll be back. Get you ready for week 6 of the fantasy football season. We thank AB, Adam Bernard, the resource, the People's Board Op, Jared Moore. The playbook for today, powered by FantasyAlarm.com, officially closes. Good luck tonight. Let's all win. And then tomorrow, we prepare for battle. Let's get it.